Welcome to Rewired for Great Success with Dr. Amy Sanchez, neuropsychologist, executive coach, organizational development expert, award-winning best-selling author, and international speaker. Dr. Sanchez is on a mission to impact 1 million leaders through her thought leadership and specialized programs for women leaders. She is passionate about helping organizations strategize and draw a direct connection between leadership, diversity and inclusion, and organizational outcomes. Welcome to the conversation.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Dr. Sanchez, and I am back. I'm your host for today's episode of the Leading with Great Impact series. Now, we're back with Amy Sanchez, MBA, executive coach and corporate trainer. She was with us last time, and in that jam-packed episode, we talked about a number of issues that were impacting women as they seek to advance in their careers. So I've invited Amy back because we weren't finished with the conversation, and so we're going to pick up from here. Now, before I get into today's episode, I just want to say welcome back, Amy, and thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Dr. Sanchez. It's so nice to be back with you.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm just going to share a little bit with listeners about who you are, Amy, in case they weren't part of last time's podcast. Is that okay?
That sounds great.
All right. So Amy spent the first 13 years of her career in healthcare sales and marketing. She earned an MBA along the way there. And she also discovered that after she had her first child, that she was wanting to get into a different industry. So she hopped industries and earned a coaching certification. And then she founded her own company called Swim Against the Current. So today, Amy partners with corporate leaders to help them replace stress and overwhelm. She helps people find joy and ease in their life so that they can exceed with their goals, all while enjoying life. I'm all about that. And she does that in her unique and authentic way of helping people through leadership coaching, as well as the workshops and the training that she provides to corporations. So as we were sharing on the last episode, Amy and I met kind of through a fluke in that we're very similar. Sisters from a different mister. She's Amy, A-M-Y. I'm a May, A-I-M-E-E, but we're both Sanchez's. And we both are in the arena of executive coaching and leadership training and all of that. We live in the same state. So there's just too many similarities. So we're like, oh my gosh, let's work together. Let's collaborate. Sanchez and Sanchez, this will be so much fun.
We have to meet. Yes, yes.
So part of that outpouring is this focus on the series today, because we really want to have you as the listener get to opportunity to take advantage of having two experts here sitting before you, sharing some of the unique strategies that we use with women that are going through stuff just like you. Okay, so last episode we were talking a lot about imposter syndrome. We defined what that was. And if you happen to miss that, Amy, I'll let you give our listeners a snippet on what imposter syndrome is.
Okay, so basically the way to know if imposter syndrome might be present in your life is if you can relate to this. So if you consistently don't attribute the success that's happening around you to your own skills or efforts, chances are you're suffering from imposter syndrome.
Yes, and that negative self-critic that I call your negative thoughts, they sometimes just hijack you at the most important times, the most pivotal times where you need to show up and be visible as a leader, or you need to be able to speak up for yourself in a meeting, or maybe you need to deal with pushback, or maybe you need to bring your A game, but something's stopping you. And so Amy is talking on the last episode about some of the solutions she's helped her clients find. But one of the areas that is also important that she mentioned was, and she's going to share this today, about how as you build self-awareness, one of the things that you can be careful not to do is what, Amy?
Again and again and again, when people come to me with this pain point, because, you know, if you've been suffering with this for a while and you reach out for help, it's probably been something that you've been dealing with for a long time. But consistently something that I hear from people is, everybody around me seems like they've got it together. What's wrong with me? And what are they doing differently that I need to be doing? So super common to compare ourselves to other, but I'll tell you what, it's never helpful. And the reason why is because when we look at people externally, it can be very different than what's happening internally for them. So I have worked with a lot of leaders who have super impressive backgrounds, worked for all the right brands, gotten all the right education, Harvard, Yale, whatever, Ivy League, and they still suffer from imposter syndrome.
Oh, yes, definitely.
So no one, unless you're Elon Musk, thinks that you're at the very, very top of your game. So what I'll say is, don't compare yourself to others, because you don't know what's happening. Chances are they're dealing with something else. And the other thing I'll say is, just to put out a more empowering, positive spin on this, is if we didn't stop and think about what's getting in our way, and if we didn't manage challenges, we'd never have the opportunity to up our game. Mm-hmm. So if this is something that you're struggling with, something that you've been sitting in a while, just know that this is the opportunity for you to catapult yourself to the next step.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And as you were talking, I was thinking, like, even Elon Musk, I don't know him personally, but he's probably got some imposter syndrome too, because the reason I say that is I think there's this phenomena that the more visible you are, you have this public persona and you have this personal persona. Mm. And a lot of leaders experience this. If you're hyper visible, if you're leading people from the front, there's this part of you professionally that has to be visible, right? You have to deliver. People are waiting on you. They need what you have, right? They need direction. But then behind the scenes, behind closed doors, there's that personal persona where the imposter may be showing up. And so there's that disconnect, right? If I were to see you in full operation mode, full beast mode, while you're out there doing your leadership trainings, I would never know. I would think, like you're saying, you don't know what people are going through. You would think, oh my gosh, she's so confident and articulate and this and that and this. And then if you go behind the scenes and you talk to me personally, then I'll tell you, oh no, what did my voice sound like? How was my dress? What did I look like? Did I sound stupid when I said blah, blah, blah?
Yes.
So I'm just sharing this with you to let you know that if you think that imposter syndrome is something that you can absolutely eradicate, it's probably not true. We are humans. We have this tendency to compare ourselves, right, to other people and always make this cost, this cost analysis of, do we have what it takes? Or am I like this person? If I do this over here, will it make me smarter, better, more effective? But I want to free you in that moment to also say that the more that you work on yourself, the more that you focus on who you need to be, who you need to show up as in order to execute, the freer you will be to kind of give yourself grace in the moment, if that makes sense.
It does, and I'm really glad you brought that up. And if I could expand on that, not also who you can be, but who you want to be. Who you want to be, and then how do you design a life that really honors the person that you want to be. And back to a great point that you made, Ame, in terms of is something wrong with me if I feel this way and I feel insecure? Let me just lighten your load there and tell you that there are some really, really big names of people who have admitted to experiencing imposter syndrome, who we all know. Maya Angelou has come out and said that she's struggled with this. Albert Einstein, Meryl Streep, Oprah, and the list goes on and on and on. So you're right. I don't mean to pick on Elon. He probably also...
That would just make him human, right?
It makes us human. Absolutely. And again, I mean, we don't excel and really, truly discover our greatness until we first have to battle through the storm.
Yes, it's that growth and stretch process. So I want to shift a little bit from that discussion about imposter syndrome and kind of ask you, because this might be a little bit related, that there may be some leaders out there, women or men, that feel as though they feel pressured or guilty because they maybe aren't everyone to everybody.
Yes.
Like, how do you deal with that? It could be, I feel guilty because I'm not at work enough, or I'm not available to my employees enough, or I'm never home with my kids, or when I'm working at home and I'm not A, being a wife, or B, being a mother, or C, being a good friend, or anything that fits.
Yes, I'm so glad you brought this up, because I'll tell you, this has always been present in the corporate environment, but I'm seeing this even more now that we're all sheltered at home and our lives have collided, where literally we've got, our kids coming and asking us to help them in the middle of work calls. So never has our attention and our time and our allegiance, our alliance been, stretched so thin as it is now. But you never can be everything to everyone. So I call this deficit syndrome, when you're constantly worried about not being enough to everybody. This is the glass half empty approach, and it is a losing game. If you only focus on your deficit and where you feel like you're dropping the ball, you're gonna hit a roadblock, and you're just
always gonna be behind when
you're always
working
gonna be
from
behind,
a deficit, right?
And your work is never gonna say, "Hey, slow down. We don't want you to deliver anymore. You're way too productive." No, no boss, no company is ever gonna say that. What's important is for you to realize what your maximum capacity is, what you're comfortable delivering, figuring out how to do that in the most efficient way, and then recognizing when you do deliver and when you do make sacrifices and when you are succeeding, instead of focusing on where you're not. Because if you look for it, you're going to find examples of both. It's just important to emphasize where you're looking.
I want to add a layer of complexity to that, though, too, because I found in my own experience and in those that I've seen with women that I've worked with, is for me being, one of few women of color that was leading at a very high level in my organization, that deficit model mentality was one that I had to reject, because, the deficit being, there's only one of us or one of few, or I might be the only woman on the leadership team. And so I'm always working from catching up, being less, you know what I mean? Having to do more, be more visible, over deliver. And I think I even did I share this story with you? How when I had gone to have one of my children, I went on maternity leave and came back, and they had hired 8 people to do my job.
You're Superwoman.
That was a pivotal moment. It was
Amazing.
Like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Hello? What am I doing? Yes, I am resilient as a leader. Yes, I'm highly qualified and capable. Yes, I can multitask and do a lot of things, but I cannot save the world. And that is not the requirement for the job. That's not the requirement for the job. Your crisis, meaning the employer's crisis, what have you, is not my crisis. When it comes at the expense of my health, my family, my peace of mind, my ability to restore, then I have to draw a boundary. And it was so hard to be able to say no. But the clearer I got, there you go with that self-awareness, then come back and who are these 8 people? Y'all done hired these 8 people to do my job? Really?
Right? And
what?
How come I wasn't getting the salary that 8 people are getting, and I did the same thing?
That was like, hello, girl, you need to go someplace and have a seat. What are you doing? You just taught them how to undervalue you.
Interesting. So you said something really powerful on me. You said, I came back and I had this realization. So when you had that realization, what did that unlock for you?
It unlocked for me, okay, now look, I'm not going to act like, aha, and I got it. It took a couple tries, but that was a pivotal moment. That was like one of 4 major pivotal moments. But what it unlocked for me was that a number of things. One is that thing, I don't have to save the world, even though that becomes the assumption, but I was teaching those people how to treat me. So yes, it's things like unconscious bias, intersectional, all that stuff was there, okay? That's that 40%. But for my 60%, I was showing them, I don't need your help. I can save the world. So every time something new would come and it got thrown into my camp, failure was not an option for me. Not saying that by saying no, it was a failure, but I didn't feel free to be able to say no. And that was something I had put on myself. I put myself in a box.
Oh gosh, I'm so glad you're bringing this up because I see this all the time. And like you, I bore a very, very heavy weight when I was in corporate America that I wanted to be successful and I wanted to be seen as a highly valued employee. And this is a double-edged sword because it made you really effective. It gave you the ability to do the work of 8 people. But what I'm hearing you say is it also made you quite miserable internally.
Yes.
So that's the sweet spot, right? This is driving people to be very successful and they're positively rewarded for this type of behavior. But what's happening behind the scenes is people start to feel burnt out. People feel guilt. People don't feel like they're enjoying their lives. So going back to what I do with clients, I help them succeed while enjoying their lives. There is a sweet spot where you can perform and give your company, your family, yourself, all the stakeholders, everything they need, and still feel really good and honor your own needs.
Really good. Yes. And I think too, I do a lot about helping people understand their values, not just cultural values, but the things that are important to them, because that's oftentimes why it's so hard to let go. You know, like I cannot let go of this because literally I was taught that you want people to remember you when you leave. Like you want to leave them in a better position than you found them. So that meant every minute I was there, I was serving at an excellence, 150%. That does not allow you to be able to take a day off. That doesn't allow you to be able to take a vacation. It doesn't allow you to say no when they call you at 3:00 in the morning, right? Because of that value I was holding so strongly too. But what I had to understand is that authenticity you were talking about, that I could still be that person if I decided what the priority was for me in my life, and I made the importance follow that value of what was the priority. So for me, my family was the priority, right? And my health and all of that. And so now the values need to reflect that. And that's how you teach people how to treat you.
Yes.
And so I had to manage my boss on that because I had 5 during a 10-year period, and they all had different. But that last boss, I said, look, don't call me at 3:00 in the morning because the phone will not be answered. Don't expect that. If it can't be managed while I'm here, oh well, there's somebody else there. Let them do it. Matter of fact, that's your job, isn't it?
I'm so glad you brought this up. And this is so this idea of imposter syndrome, and in terms of solutions, boundaries are often a really important solution as you think about this.
Boundaries,
and
disturbances. Yes.
And to your point, really getting clear on what your top values are and making sure that you honor those through every decision that you make. I had a female leader that I used to work with who it didn't matter where we were, if we were talking to our top executives, if we were talking to customers, if her kids called, she answered the phone. It was such a great example for me because all of the women female leaders I've been exposed to in the past, the company came first. So if they were in a meeting with their boss or customer, no interruption. It didn't matter if the house was on fire, would cause them to pick up the phone. Through that, she was really exhibiting and showing that it was okay to honor your top priorities. And you know what? Nobody questioned it. She did it so much and she did it so gracefully and without apologizing that we all knew if her kids called, she was going to answer. And it was a great demonstration of, how to build those boundaries and really make sure your top values are honored.
That's so good. So, we have gotten to the end here, but I do want to say that, as you continue to ascend in your leadership and you're working towards a promotion, a pivot, or a transition, and you're coming in at a high level as a senior person, that I think driving culture is important to talk about. And so just briefly, just like Amy was sharing about that supervisor that she had that made it okay for family to be a priority. Those are some of the things that you have to think about as you're going into these new positions, or thinking about going into a new position, or maybe wanting to lead more effectively where you are. How are you driving the culture? How are you driving the culture? And if you're not driving the culture, how can you have a voice and ultimately a seat at the table? So thank you so much, Amy, for being here. Please tell our listeners how they can reach you if they want to get in contact with you.
Yes, please come and visit my website. It's companies Swim Against the Current. I do career and leadership coaching for leaders and workshops, and www.swim-against.com, or just type in swimagainstthecurrent.com and you can find me.
Thank you so much. Okay, and my name is Dr. Sanchez. I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for joining the conversation. Remember to subscribe, share, and join us next time.